Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. From the beautiful state of Washington, our returning guest, Lisa Quinto. She's going to talk to us about addiction and codependency, healing, love, wisdom, and her book, and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Lisa Quinto?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you, Brains. Let me tell you, we hooked up in Hawaii. Well, not hooked up, but met up. And it was just wonderful. And that's what I like to do. I like to build a relationship, not
Yeah.
just have somebody on my show. And we sat there and we talked, and it was beautiful. And we really got to know each other. And so I thank you
Yeah.
for that, Lisa. And I'm coming to see
Yeah.
you want to build relationships, and relationships that we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about the relationship between parents and children of addiction.
Yeah. Will be enough. And it's the thing is when it's your child, it's brutal. The letting go process is really, really difficult. Um, but once you have a system in place, it becomes to where you realize I actually matter. My life, I have a life, and it's not just around my child. I matter. My life matters because, as um mothers of addicts, we're and I'm starting to share this now, but my daughter relapsed and she's in a really bad place right now.
Come on.
Really bad place.
Since we met
And
in Hawaii, Brains,
I
I
know,
tell you guys, me and Lisa, she was on my show as a guest, and we vibed. We had a good time, and we both happened to be in Hawaii at the same time. We was like 4 resorts away from
yeah.
each other, and we went and we had some non-alcoholic libation. Listened to the
Yeah.
band and introduced our fellow folks to each other.
Yeah.
We just really vibed, and but since then,
Yeah. Yeah, this can be part of the recovery process where, falling out of her own community and having difficult things happen in her life and not having a good community. And then unfortunately, she's just in a really toxic relationship and it's just spiraled and
breaks
it's
my heart.
really, really tough. And so, I'm doing this again and I also know that when I did this before, uh, some beautiful things happened for me that came out of that like really difficult time because uh, I realized how I was enabling. And sometimes you don't even realize you are until you are,
Okay, back
right?
up. Pump the brakes. You were enabling again.
Yeah, it happens. Enabling just in the fact of they were my daughter and son-in-law uh were cohabitating with us, and this was supposed to be like a temporary thing for them to get to where they could buy a house. And it ended up spiraling into something where they both lost their jobs. She had a miscarriage. She had actually had two and fell into a depression. We were all desperately trying to help her, but you can't help someone who's willing to help themselves. It's
You know,
they
those were
have,
those were her those were her triggers. Wait a minute. I'm flabbergasted. I am flabbergasted.
yeah,
And I know your husband
yeah,
is sitting there scratching his head.
yeah. And it's been really difficult for both of us because it's where you also get to see where you're playing the role. What role are you playing? And uh the enabling happened with just allowing things that I knew weren't quite right to continue thinking maybe this time was different. And that happens. Maybe this time is different. And then realizing, no, no. And that was just like literally within a week of returning from Hawaii. It was really, really obvious this is what was happening. And
So
it's
leading up to this, you had no inclination, or
we had like
you had blinders
it was
on.
like I'm not quite sure what's happening here. I'm seeing some things that I'm questioning, and I'm like, okay, actually going to Hawaii gave me especially a chance to get a different view.
Right, right.
And as I got that different view, I'm like, I don't like what's happening here. I think that this is not healthy, and unfortunately, um I had to actually take out a restraining order against him to get him to go. So it got really bad. And he is not willing, he's a lot different than she is. She's had a lot of help. He hasn't. And his um his relapse, I think, is more of like maybe he was always using and kind of snowed us for a long time. And, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that I started to lose myself and I had to like go, wait a minute. This feels familiar and I don't like this. I need to revisit this. And sure enough, it was very obvious that this was happening. And
Well,
it's really, really sad because she had come so far.
but
Um,
to whom much is given, much is required, and
Absolutely.
sometimes you don't get it one, two, three times. You get it four times. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just praying and hopeful that she gets through it with her life,
Uh-huh.
because that's
Yep.
what people say, that when you relapse, you go deeper into it. Because
Possibly.
yeah, because is she in a facility getting treatment now?
No. No, she won't listen to anybody right now. And so it's different now. It's not heroin anymore, it's fentanyl. There is no heroin. There is no heroin. Heroin's hard to find. If you can find it at all, it's all fentanyl, which is a whole different animal. I don't know enough about it. I mean, I know about it, but I don't know enough about it, but I know that it is
I mean,
awful.
that's a straight killer. That's like
Yeah.
that's like worse than meth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's worse than that because you can so easily overdose. Meth is way more addictive, but fentanyl is I it's nothing to play with. It's really nothing to play with. So, but I also know that I can't save someone who isn't willing to participate in their own rescue.
That's that's it. And that's the cold part about it.
It is.
And I had a want to get my guess. I'm gonna hook you up with her too. She has a horse retreat too.
Oh,
Big.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna hook you up with her. I mean, hers is
Okay.
like over the top, and both of her daughters OD'd and died.
Oh,
Both of them. And she
oh,
was
so
on.
sad.
She was telling her story too, and it's an emptiness. But what I tell people, from my own experience, I don't have a child on drugs, but I have
Right.
brothers that was on drugs. And again, like you said, if you don't want to participate in your own recovery, you're at a loss. Um,
Yeah,
but the guilt cannot land upon me for you. We
that's right.
are mere vessels, and we all have our own journey. We all have,
100%.
and a lot of times when people die by suicide, people say, well, I could have done more. You can only do so much. I've got a lady that's
Yeah.
coming on my show. She was incarcerated. She was on drugs. She's from Hawaii, girl.
Okay.
All of this
Yeah.
energy together, all of us. But you know what she told me she did to try to end her life, she wrapped herself in a blanket and laid in the middle of the highway.
Oh,
Hi.
yeah.
It's like, now, I've heard of some things. She said she was just praying that a semi would come and run her over, thinking it was a
Oh,
blanket in the road.
yeah.
And how can you be in such a dark place? What could be the trigger? Your guilt by association. It's hard, especially if you got a partner or a spouse that's codependent. You
Yeah.
may not do it the first time, you may not do it the second time, but if you smell it, there's a familiar
Yeah.
smell, or there's a look, or there's a, can I get this? Oh, baby, it's all right. This, that, and, all
Yeah.
of that kind of stuff. So is she still with the spouse?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so that's the difficult part. And so the aspect of like it's not why the addiction, it's why the pain, right? So this is actually a quote from Dr. Gabor Mate, who talks about like we don't have addicts, we have people who can't deal with their pain.
Mm.
And they're looking to escape from their pain. And I 100% agree with that. And it's post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, the list goes on of reasons why we're in addiction. And so it's not for me to figure out for her why she's an addict. What is for me to figure out is what is her pain. So then I can be like, how do I want to say that? I can show her what's possible for herself to move through the pain.
Okay.
Because you
Now,
get
wait,
stuck in the pain and you just don't want to be there. The only your brain says, I know what works. Drugs, alcohol, whatever your addiction is, right? But that's just really the brain's way of getting a dopamine fix. And that dopamine fix, once you go off that drug, it takes a while for your body to start producing that, naturally. And that's why recovery is so difficult at first.
okay, let me dial back, because I'm going to ask you the tough questions because we can have this
Oh,
conversation.
yeah.
Did she have a traumatic upbringing?
She was very sick. She was very sick the majority of her childhood. So, she was never involved with her biological father,
Mhm.
who that is a whole nother podcast. But I left that situation when she was less than a year old and got myself out of, I was homeless with her. And for the first, 10 months of her life. And
Which
then
is very prominent in people's lives. I mean, we're talking, I've had guests on my show that are talking about the trauma from in vitro, you know.
yes, and I believe there's some generational trauma there for sure. There's some generational trauma, and there be maybe some trauma from that. And then she got sick at about 3. She had some kidney issues, serious kidney issues, and then at 7, she had I talk about this in the book. She had a cholesteatoma, which is calcium buildup on her eardrum, and it cost her hearing in her left ear, but she ended up having 7 surgeries for that over the years. And each surgery was weeks of no running, no jumping, no swimming. And as a kid, you can't do any of the things you want to do as a kid. And so by the time she's in middle school, and then into high school, she just, she's fallen behind because she's had all these surgeries and then ends up, drifting into a wrong crowd, trying to make sure that she's staying on the straight and narrow, really, trying not to helicopter parent, but also really trying to make sure that she's okay. But by the time she turned 18, she was like, she met a guy when she would just had turned 18 and introduced her to hard drugs.
Yeah, he
And
put the Spengali on her.
yeah, and that was it. That was the start of a 15-year journey, which led up to that was about 5, 6 years ago. And so altogether would be like a 22-year
So
journey
how old
of
is she?
she's 39.
And she doesn't
Yeah.
have children.
No.
And I think that those two miscarriages sent her for a loop,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean,
But if
praise
your
God that she
body is,
doesn't have kids.
yeah,
I
but if
have
your
I have
body
two
is not
clients.
in, if it's not in top form and you're
Right.
doing all this other stuff, and then additional stress, because in
Yeah.
her defense, there
Yep.
is shame, there is pain, there is hurt.
Oh,
I
so
don't think she
much.
wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, I want some Fent."
No.
I don't think that. And
No.
deceiving her mom, not having a relationship. Now that's your only child.
No, I have another daughter that's 7 years younger and is the complete mirror opposite.
Mm.
She's college graduate, her and her husband own a home. She's doing really well. She has lots of interests outside of, with lots of friends and things like that. And she used to have lots of friends, but this is another thing that drugs do for you is you lose those friends. You start to isolate, you start to
You start
really
to
withdraw.
steal. You,
Yeah,
you start to
yeah,
steal, lie, manipulate, can't trust you. And
yeah.
nobody wants to see somebody, every time you see them, they're twisted up. You
That's
just,
right.
don't want, you can't have a good conversation with them. You don't know where they're coming
No.
from, fits of rage and anger,
Yeah,
and then when they're down, and they're not high, they're so sweet and so vulnerable and they're so compassionate, and you
yeah.
want to love on them, but you just don't know where they're coming from. And there's a
Right.
trust and a safety issue there.
Absolutely. And uh it's when I teach boundaries, I like to say your boundaries are what you are and are not available for.
Mm,
I'm not available for stealing, lying, manipulating, drugs, and all the nefarious drug behaviors that go along with that. I am available for meeting you for a meal, talking to you on the phone whenever you need it. Like I'm available for that, but I'm not available to loan you money. I'm not available to, save you in the middle of the night. I'm not available uh to buy you clothes for an interview you're never going to. Like I'm not available for those things. And that's my boundary. And then, I call it the four sisters: boundaries, standards, values, and personal power. And they all hold hands. And if one of them is let go, all of them fall.
mm, mm, mm,
It's a like a domino effect, right? You start to not have boundaries, then you lower your standards. You start to look at you're not holding up your values, and you have no personal power.
mm.
And once you're in that place, you're a full enabler. And a lot of times you can't see it. I didn't for years. I didn't. And then once I did, I was like, no more,
Mm.
no more.
Did you not see it or you didn't want to look at it? Tell the truth.
Uh, I think at first I didn't want to believe that me helping her wasn't helping her. I really believed I was helping her for a long time. And then it got to the point to where um I think there's a couple of things that were big wake up calls, and I started to say, no, I can't do this anymore. One was when she OD'd and almost died,
Mm,
and really saw that, this is super serious. And the bad part with the OD and almost died was she was on life support for a few days. She got better. She got out of the hospital. She used that same day.
mm, mm,
And it was, I can't keep doing this. Um, and the second one was when I hadn't talked to her for a while because I had put up boundaries. I had stopped the enabling, and I got a knock on the door, and it was the sheriff. And I froze, and I thought, oh my God, she's dead. She's dead. He's here to tell me she's dead. And finally, I opened the door after being frozen what seemed like a year. Um, and he asked if I knew where she was. And I literally almost fainted because I'm like, oh, you're looking for her. That means she's not dead.
mm.
And I said, I really don't know where she is. And he said, harboring a fugitive is a felony. I'm like, I don't know where she is. I really don't know where she is. And he's like, okay, here's my card. Call me if you see her. She's got warrants. And I'm like, oh, my parents bailed her out of jail again, and she didn't show up for a court hearing. So, and that was really a difficult thing because I had some knockdown, drag out fights with my parents because they were continually enabling her and would not stop.
Yeah.
And that was brutal.
So tell us, in the book, you decided to put this, document your struggle in an effort to help other parents that are coping with their children that are going through addiction, but also for them to understand their place, give them some suggestions on their roles and responsibilities, boundaries, but also allow them some grace
Yeah.
because there's no way that you have given birth, raised this individual, and not care about them, no matter
Oh,
what
for
they look
sure.
like, no matter what they do. And you don't want that knock on the door that they have passed
Yeah.
because of, the individuals that they're around or the circumstances. But again, she's got to want this. And
Yeah.
as long as she is with a codependent person that is in that
Hmm.
same phone, and two addicts, let me tell you, that makes for an ugly recipe. Okay.
Yeah.
You let the
Yeah.
last one get the last hit. See what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? And
Yep.
your safety. You have to think about your personal safety. These people are no
Absolutely.
longer the child that you've given birth to. They have now
Right.
entered into a whole different realm, a whole different
Yeah.
philosophy, a whole different reasoning, inability to reason. I went to
Yeah.
see my girlfriend one time. She was in a rehab facility and she was so angry. Oh, she was so angry.
Yeah.
She says, "This is a goddamn mental institution. This is not a rehab facility. I hear him screaming at night. I hear him banging on the floor. I see him drooling, bent over, and we're not getting the support that we need. We're not getting the resources that we need." She was so angry. And she's
Yeah.
never, I kind of cut her off because I couldn't deal with it. But she was never the person that I knew a long time ago. So sometimes, in all transparency, uh, these facilities are not what we think they should be. We all think they're the Betty
Yeah.
Ford clinic. You got tennis
Right.
courts and massage therapy and Reiki and good food. That's not all of them. Some of them are real
Those are
psych.
the high priced ones.
Absolutely.
Those are the ones that are, 90 days for 60 grand.
Wow.
No insurance.
No insurance.
And so,
It's a big
yeah.
cut. But then, Brains, I need you to understand that there's places like Lisa's Ranch that
Yeah.
you can go, and I can't wait. You heard us talking at the top of the interview. I can't wait to go and see it. I'm not a big horse person, but I'm willing to open myself up to their wisdom and,
Yeah.
their courage. And so this place is not just for recovering addicts, but it's also for the recovery of families, for the
Yeah.
mothers, for the fathers, to give, again, allow yourself some grace. Tell me a little bit about your place and the book, the workbook.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a 5.5 acre ranch out here in Stanwood, Washington. And I have my two stars, Hershey and Forrest, my two horses that I do horse wisdom with. And the horse wisdom is all groundwork. So there's no riding. This is all working with horses on the ground, but you can't lead someone else if you can't lead yourself. So we teach boundaries first. We start off with boundaries, standards, values, personal power, and then we move into leadership. And that leadership allows you to lead yourself, but horses have this unique way of mirroring how we're showing up, and you can't deny that. You can't deny what they're mirroring back to you. And there's no judgment. This is just how you're showing up. And you get to see that in a way to where they offer you the solution that has always been there that you're just not seeing. And sometimes that solution is put it down and let it go. Choose yourself. Choose yourself because you've chosen this child or this family member over and over and over again. And once you start choosing yourself, you actually show them how to choose themselves by you doing it first. I
Mm.
know from my own experience, I sacrificed and I sacrificed myself. And I what I say is when I realized that I wanted my daughter to choose me, but I wasn't choosing myself.
Mm. Mm.
When could my daughter just choose me, love me enough to choose me so she could choose herself?
Mm.
But I wasn't choosing myself. So how could she do? She was never mirrored that, right? So, and this is a lot of women, right? We sacrifice ourselves for our children. And it's not that we shouldn't be their mother. It's that if we're choosing ourselves, we show them how to choose themselves fully, like
Right. You're
fully choose
a
them.
mere reflection of the image
Yes.
that you aspire them to be. But it takes
Yeah.
courage. And
It takes a
now
lot of
and
courage.
now, the whole world is in this coward mentality. We just gonna go along to
Yeah.
get along. We just gonna do it because, this person, not me, not me.
Yeah.
I told,
It
we've
it
had this
takes an
conversation.
incredible amount of courage to put something down and let go. And it isn't a process of doing that once. You do that continually. Sometimes you do that every day. But to get that leadership, there's nothing like a 1,200-pound animal to show you how to be courageous and how to be a leader because they're not following someone who isn't a leader. So as you step into that role and this horse starts to come with you, you start to build up the confidence in yourself to where, okay, I can lead myself now. I can look at how letting go is saying yes to me.
Mm.
And as you say yes to yourself, it feels wrong. I can tell you from the beginning when I first started, it felt wrong at first, but as I did it more and more, I realized no one's coming to save me.
Mm.
No one's coming to save her. It's her responsibility to save herself, and it's my responsibility to save myself.
You got to put your oxygen
And
mask on first, honey.
oh, sister, yes. I don't know how many times I've said that. That is one of the most brilliant things ever. If the air mask drops, put yours on first before you help someone else.
Well, you help
And
somebody else.
if we can
Because
remember
each
that,
one of us, and this is a hard pill to swallow too, but each one of us have a soul contract. And I learned
yep.
this from one of my other guests. She's a psychologist that goes in and talks to families after these mass murders.
Oh, oh,
And I said, well, how do you even do that? She said, the first thing I do is I'm silent. I hold space for them.
mm-hmm.
That's all I can do is hold additional space for them. She says, but what you have to understand is that unfortunately, some people's contract, just like when you have a job, is 2 years. Some people's contract is 20 years. Some people's job is to be a mechanical engineer. Some people's job is to be a receptionist. This is all temporary, but it
Right.
is all by design.
Yeah.
And we are in a lunar vortex of change where
Mm-hmm.
civilization, not humanity, because that done went to hell in the handbasket. Nobody's humane hardly anymore.
Right.
But
Yeah.
civilization is evolving into something else. It's morphing into something else. And I
Yeah.
tell my guests that it is not about being this transformational coach, the mindset, all that kind of stuff. This is about being conscious and staying focused, learning how to
Yeah.
navigate the storm, being your own
Yep.
North Star, being a compass. That is what you have to do. And it's individual. We didn't come over here like they did on the ark with Noah. It ain't two of us. We came
Yeah.
individually, even twins,
Yeah.
even twins.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own deck of cards, and you got to play the cards that you're dealt. And this is
Yeah.
unfortunate for your daughter. It breaks my heart. She will be on my prayer list. She will be in my
Yeah.
heart and in my mind, and so will you, because
Yeah. Thank
it's
you.
about navigation. But
Hmm.
again, if she's not trying to go north, there's nothing you can do. Nothing you
Right.
can do. You
And
know.
I really love that you preferenced holding space because a lot of parents of addicts don't even know what that is.
Mm,
I talk to a lot of people about holding space because that's what horses do. They hold space for you to see
mhm.
what's here. Just get quiet, to quiet the noise, to
Yeah.
quiet the trying to figure out something where, as mothers of addicts, we're in a club that nobody wants to be in.
Mm,
And when you can get quiet, that's when you get your the best downloads, or I call them downloads from God of like, I need you to do this.
right.
And she's moving through her journey. I'm moving through mine. Mine is a lot different than hers, but I feel like all of her trials and tribulations will lead her to her being able to give back at some point.
Wow. Well,
And
she's gonna have to redesign, because that spouse of hers is
yep,
that's gonna be hard. And then she
yeah,
doesn't want to be alone. She's alienated herself from her sister, her mother. She
hmm,
doesn't have a relationship with her dad. The person that relates to her and identifies with her and accepts her in this dysfunctional way is him.
right, yeah,
And so, but it will all be revealed. And I really believe
absolutely.
that she will have a breakthrough. So tell my brains a little bit about your book, the name of the book, and how to get in contact with you, Lisa. This is
Yeah.
so real and heart wrenching. I love it when you come on the show.
Oh, thank you. Um, so the book is Pathway Back to You. And looking at, coming out in September or sometime in the summer. And it is my story. A short part of it is my story, so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. And then I go into a workbook of, what is a drama triangle? How do you set boundaries? What is letting go? And then the last part of that book is a 30-day journal. It's actually a 28-day journal because a lot of times we'll have a our child or our family member going through recovery, and they're working on themselves from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. 7 days a week for 28 days. What are you doing?
Hmm.
I looked at that because my daughter went through recovery multiple times, like in the double digits. I think it was 10 or 12 times. And each time, the first probably 8 or so that she went, I was like, this is your problem. You figure it out. Our relationship can go back to the way it was, until I had that epiphany of like, wait a minute, I'm in recovery as well. I need to work on myself. And if I'm not, she comes out of recovery here, I'm down here. She doesn't have the bandwidth to pull me up. So what happens? I pull her down and she relapses. And when I realized that was part of what was happening, that's why I designed that 28 days of work, deeply working on yourself and really each day going through and journaling and having journal prompts and having things to where you can kind of look at where are you today and where are you going, and deeply working on yourself. If your family member's going through recovery, you're going to be way closer to where they are.
Hmm.
And now you can pull her up,
Hmm.
or she can pull you, or she or he can pull you up because you're so much closer. But when there's that big gap in between, you've still got the judgment, you've still got the shame, you've still got all these things that are there that really pull on that. And I also talk about horse wisdom and how that happened for me, how that journey happened for me of finally getting a horse at 48.
Hmm.
And this horse was dangerous. to a lot of my horsey friends who had had horses for a lot longer said, this horse is dangerous. We think you should rehome it. And I said, I'm not giving up on her. I'm not giving up on her. And just probably like 5 years after that, those same people said, can our grandkids ride your horse?
Mm.
Because she had had a complete turnaround and we saved each other. We saved each other from, heartbreak. She was neglected and really treated poorly and needed someone to show up for her. And we showed up for each other.
Um,
And I realized, wow, I have this amazing connection and how I was able to help other people. I'm like, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I need to be helping other people with how I help people with horses as well as coaching. So, yeah,
well, you have done an incredible job. Thank you for being so open, honest, raw, vulnerable. And again, Brains, we are going to send abundance of light and love to
yeah,
Lisa, her family, and him too. Get yourself
yes,
together, brother.
absolutely.
Get yourself together.
Yep,
Because it's an ugly
yeah.
look. It's an ugly look. Okay. It ain't nothing cute
Yeah.
about
And
it.
there's so many people that are in this space right now, and it's so heartbreaking. In 2023, the numbers were 50% of Americans knew someone close to them that was struggling with addiction, and that number's gone way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's going to get more challenging if we don't get ourselves together. Brains, go right
Yep.
here. You see my address right here? We are on Spreaker. We are on Spotify. We're on Google. We're on Apple. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're here with you, heart centered. We're trying to connect with you on the edge. We're trying to allow you to have resources to your highest and greatest good. Ask yourself every day, how can it get any better than this? And what else is possible? And there
Yeah.
is a way out. And yes, the struggle is real. It's not easy. It's not easy. If it was easy, it wouldn't be called life. It wouldn't be a challenge. We have a responsibility to the next generation. We have a responsibility to ourselves
Yeah.
to try to do better and be better. Not to your parent, okay? Not to your spouse, but to yourself. And if you can't love yourself, then we can't help you, okay? So go in and
Yeah.
listen to other edgy conversations. Pick up a copy of Lisa's book. We're going to have that, and we are going to be promoting the heck out of it when it comes to release. And she keeps saying, "Oh, I'm going back and revising it, revising it," but I'm sure that it is layered, it is textured, it is full of love, and there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that could, take advantage of being up there in beautiful Washington. I'm gonna take some pictures,
Yeah.
posted some pictures of us in Hawaii, and we're going to get together and I'm going to be able to get over my fear of horses because one ran away with me, girl, to the edge of a cliff.
Oh my gosh, right?
And there wasn't a big enough woe in the world. Okay. I gave her some sugar. Gave her some sugar cubes and a carrot. I walked that sister back 2.5 miles. I sure did. But they're
Yeah.
powerful animals, but they're not just powerful because of their weight and their might, but it's their wisdom and it's the way that they communicate. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here again, Lisa. What's your
Yeah.
website so people can get in
It
contact?
is lisaquintowellness.com. And I also have a YouTube page that'll be on my Facebook, which is just Lisa Quinto Wellness as well, or just Lisa Quinto on Facebook. And I'll have all those links right there.
Okay. Well, reach out, Brains. Have a conversation
Yeah.
with someone that is neutral, not your therapist, not your pastor, not your spouse, but somebody that can understand and resonate with what you're saying without judgment. And I really, really, truly believe that Lisa is that person. Thank you so much, Queen, for coming here and being with me on the edge.
Thank you.
All right. You're the best.